one thing that the color conscious faction will point out in the game is what in race studies is called white privilege, and the concept of privilege. People who are of a privileged group do not ever need to notice something if they don't want to notice something. So the argument is, about white privilege, is that if you have white privilege, you're privileged because you don't need to notice race. In other words, if you are made to notice race, you don't have that privilege. And you can ignore that you are not white all you want, but the world will tell you that you are not white. And so in that regard, I think this game reminds me a lot about, the game that you were talking about reminds me a lot about this invisibility that goes on. So I think the person who wrote the game that you're talking about was trying to point at the arbitrariness of a distinction. An arbitrariness that is made very, very clear to us because it seems absurd. But privilege in our everyday lives is so internalized that we don't even notice that it's there. It's arbitrary, but it's not arbitrary because it seems to be natural.
I have two anecdotes to add to that, one about Canada and one about Japan. When I first lived in Japan, and first taught in Japan, I lived in a little town where there was one other Caucasian woman. She had to be French. I'm 5'7½", she's 4'11". She's very voluptuous. At the time I had very long hair, she had short hair, and people would see us in the supermarket and come up to me and say, now, are you the American woman who teaches at Kobe Jogakuin, or are you the French woman who's married to the Japanese musician? And I'd say, I'm the sensei at Kobe Jogakuin. Oh, okay. And a week later, the same person would say, now, which one are you again? And it was fantastic to be in that situation where I would look at my friend Marivan and think, we looked nothing alike, except we did, because we were both white ladies. And in a Japanese village, all people were remembering is, oh, that white lady. And they literally could not keep us apart. And then people would often, when we traveled together, tell us all the time, oh, are you two sisters? You look just alike. We think, wow, we don't look alike at all. But in other contexts, we wouldn't have been said that we looked alike. But when your frame is white lady, right, we were sisters. We looked exactly alike. My other one is a really different one, a funny one. Someone many, many, many years ago asked a Prime Minister of Canada why it was that Canadians knew everything about American history, but Americans knew hardly anything about Canada. And he said, well, it's kind of like sleeping, being an elephant, and sleeping in bed with a mouse. Because if you're a mouse, an elephant, you really don't have to know very much about whether the mouse is turning and where it is in the bed. But if you're the mouse, you sure as heck better know where the elephant was. And that seems to me a really great, funny way of thinking about privilege, that you have to pay attention in a different way when you are the powerful than you do when you're the mouse, knowing that that elephant can squish you if you happen to turn or be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Produced by Duke University, online at duke.edu.